Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to explain to you the promotion policy of class 9 and 11, which is valid from this year onwards. We know that there has been so many radical and fundamental changes that is happening, especially after the the policy was drafted and implemented from 2020. Of course, the curriculum is yet to be implemented in most classes. We are expecting that slow and steadily is going to be improvised and circulated, and the new textbooks will be out definitely by next year, at least for some classes. So the first video that I had put some time back is about the promotion policy of up to class 8, which has also changed drastically. And today's session is all about the promotion policy of class 9 and 11. You're all senior teachers, and I believe you're already aware of what is going on in 10 and 12. There is no change of 10 and 12 for this year, but they have made changes in 9 and 11. So what are the basic changes that's going to come or is going to be implemented for this year 2023 is what this session is all about. Now, let us first understand that this whole year has been divided into two terms. The first term is also called the midterm, which is approximately around September, October. And the finals we normally have in February, March, and the full syllabus has to be given, right? So earlier, what was happening is that because of COVID and all, there was half syllabus and all that. And now there is no extension of any of those. So from class 9 onwards, class 9, 10, 11, 12, the final syllabus is going to be on the full course, whatever has been prescribed. And the paper pattern will be as per the CBSE board protocols. That means if you're preparing a question paper of class 9, kindly follow the instructions as per class 10. And if you're preparing a class 11 question paper, follow the same pattern as class 12. So the paper pattern needs to be as per the board pattern and protocols that has already been specified on the CBSE website last year itself. Now, coming to the nitty-gritties, the mandatory requirement. Now, this is very important that if a child has to give the class 9 exams, the student must pass the third language. So if I talk about the third language, it could be a Sanskrit, it could be French, German, whatever is the third language that the student has chosen. It is compulsory to pass the third language. Earlier, you know that as per the RTE, the Right to Education Act, and the no detention policy, everybody used to pass up to class 8, and when they come to class 9, there used to be no issues, right, because of the no detention policy. But that has been changed from this year. So now this has become a mandatory requirement that the student will have to pass the class 8 third language. It is compulsory to pass that, right? So it is not possible if student has not passed and has been promoted, because this year, of course, that rule will be applicable for class 8, that every subject has to be cleared with 33% is going to come from the academic year 23-24. So they have given an exception for this year. That means if any student is at the moment in class 9 and has not passed in the third language, he can be given this exam at the end of class 9. And if the student is not even passing in class 9, then he has to definitely clear it before the board exams, that is in class 10. So, but they have made it mandatory that the third language exam has to be passed at the end of class 8. If not in class 8, then the student has to pass in class 9, or the same paper can be given in class 10. So before the board exam, this has to be cleared. Of course, next year, 23-24, the set of rules have totally changed up to 8. So if you've not attended that session, you can go through the recording of the previous session for what happens up to 8. So let's go further and understand the other assessment patterns that has been given to us. So here, first we are discussing class 9. So all the class 9 teachers are already aware that the pattern is 80-20. 20 marks is internal assessment and 80 marks is the external assessment. External in this is, it's not a board exam, but external is the pen paper test. That is the midterm test and the end of the year exam that is going to happen, 80-20. So the 20 marks is same as before. There is no change in that. That means 5 marks is for the periodic tests. The best 3 periodic tests have to be taken, and we take best of 2. Then we have the multiple assessments, 5 marks, portfolio 5 marks, subject enrichment 5 marks. So that's your 20 internals. And then your midterm and annual exams. Now the midterm and annual exams will be in the same pattern as the board exams, right? So that's going to be 80 marks. But what they have specified here is that when the calculation is done, it's going to be 20% of the midterm and 60% of the annual exam. So the question paper is designed out of 80, just like the board exam, but the weightage of the midterm and the final board exams are given as 20% and 60% respectively. So the total marks that you are going to get at the end of the year is 100, and that is 20 of the internal assessments, 20 midterm, 60 annual exam. And when you total up the 20 internal, 20 midterm, and annual exam 60, you are getting 100. And class 10, there is also no change. That is the same pattern. So the periodic test is best of two. Now, multiple assessment, portfolio, subject enrichment, those who have been doing over a period of years, they are very clear about it, but there may be some new teachers. So for their benefit, I'm just going through what is the meaning of these. So the periodic test is basically our internal test, that is the pen paper test. And we should always have a system of documentation so that it is fair, because as per the, if somebody files an RTI on the internal assessments, has to be very transparent. You have to justify why each and every mark is given to a student. So we should have some documentation where the performance of the student is assessed through practicals, projects, assignments, the classwork homework done, and so on and so forth. So all these evidences are very necessary as per the rules of the Directorate of Education. It has to be kept for inspection whenever the CBSE or the Directorate of Education demands. So I'm just explaining for the sake of new teachers who probably would like to understand what is the meaning of the multiple assessments and the subject enrichment and so on. So multiple assessment should include anything except for the pen paper. There should not be a pen paper test, because that is what is happening already in periodic test. Now, multiple assessment, you can have a dialogue, you can have a quiz, you can have interaction with them, you can have crosswords, any oral form of testing can be done. You can have class discussions. There can be field work, there can be map work. There can be graphical representation of data. So many ways of representing the concept that they have learned can be presented in the class. So that is multiple assessment. So there will be no pen paper test, but other forms of assessments can be done here. So the teacher can use his or her creativity in planning out this multiple assessment, which is 5 marks. Then the next component of the 5 marks is the next component of this is, of course, the portfolio. Now, what is portfolio? Portfolio is a collection of the exemplary work done by the students. So, you have been giving classwork, you have been giving homework, activities, assignments, all that collection. The entire notebooks need not be there, but the exemplary work. So a variety of skills that the child is using. It's a tool for assessing the variety of skills that the child has been using to present a particular data. So whatever good work that you are doing, that can be presented in a portfolio. So one portfolio can be made in which a record of all the subjects can be pasted, or it can be compiled together. So the portfolio will be in the form of a journal, notebook, or a file where the child's work is collected and kept. So every student should have a portfolio, right? So this portfolio is 5 marks. And the next component of the internal assessment is the portfolio, of course, I have explained. And how to assess the portfolio is basically on the basis of some parameters. There could be parameters like neatness, submission on time, completeness of work, how creative is it, and so all these parameters you can decide and give the marks. So how the child has organized the entire portfolio and kept it. So accordingly, 5 marks you can. So you can design your own rubrics for that, because unless the rubrics is maintained, then somebody can challenge that why I got 4 marks or somebody has been given 3 marks. So it's important that we keep our rubrics ready so that nobody can question that, and there is transparency in the marks that we have given, right? So these evidences need to be organized in the form of the this thing and in this file. And this is some just it's not mandatory to follow this, but these are some of the points that we can keep in mind when we are preparing the portfolio. That is organization, how neat it is, there's visual appeal, the student has taken pains to prepare it. Completeness, as I told you, whether the work is complete or not. And it should include all the work that basically that you have given in the class. Okay, so it's not only the basics, but it also should reflect the complete work that has been done throughout the year by the teacher in the class. So that should include other subjects also, not only your subject. So it's not that the child is making 5 or 6 portfolios. You can collect all the evidences and put it in one file so that it becomes easier to assess that, or it's easier when the inspection takes place that this is the student and this is the work done in the 5 subjects, right? So that's about portfolio, which you've been doing. I mean, more or less class 10 teachers were doing it, but class 9 teachers, some schools were doing, some were not. If you're doing good, if you're not doing, then it's better that we start off. Subject enrichment activities, especially in maths and sciences, we used to do the lab activities. The NCRT has got has prescribed lab activities, which is done in the classes. And then geography, you can do map work, and you can do project work and so on. Then the languages, they had the English, this speaking and listening skills. Even in Hindi, they had this speaking, listening skills and so on. So every subject will have some subject enrichment activities. They are basically activities which will enable the child to learn more. So it is going beyond the textbooks, challenging them to the next level to bring out something fundamental and some basic concepts which were not discussed there, that is practically now implemented through these activities. So whatever we study in theory, that is practically doing and getting more knowledge out of it. So for example, in maths, we are doing a particular topic. Now, how do we get the formula, derivation, or doing it experimentally? That becomes our subject enrichment activities. Now, also on this note, I would like to add that the CBSE has also told us about the Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat Abhiyan, in which the paired state has to be given for importance. So like Delhi is paired with Sikkim. So what happens in the subject enrichment activities is also, please make note that when you're doing these activities, also look into those paired states, because you know that becomes mandatory to download your admit cards. So it is important that the subject enrichment activities are incorporated with respect to your paired state. Otherwise, doing separate projects becomes additional responsibility, as well as it becomes very tiring for the students to do multiple projects, one for the subject enrichment, then one for the Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat. Why don't you integrate all this and make one project? That is enough, right? So in subject enrichment, they have given languages. The main aim is that you are equipping the learner to develop effective speaking and listening skills. For maths and science, I already told you the lab activities. Social science, they have given map and project work, which is as prescribed by the CBSE curriculum. So here they have put a note, projects may be related to art and culture, including development of life skills. So here we can incorporate our paired state and also do these projects, right? Then we come to the next part, that is, this I've already discussed, that experiments can be integrated with the paired state as per the CBSE notification. So the examination pattern now. Now, examination pattern remains the same. That is the 80 marks that we were doing, just like our class 10 exams. So I'm discussing about class 9 and 10 first, right? The duration is going to be 3 hours, same. Internal choice, that has to be 33%. The objective type questions will be 20 and the subjective will be 60. So that's the present board pattern, which has to be followed in 9 as well. So there is no change in this. It will be 20, 60, MCQ and the others. And if you are talking about the midterm exam, again, the theory is 20, pen paper exam is going to be 20, and the annual exam is 60. Now, when they say 20 and 60, it is not that you are taking a test out of 60. It is 80 mark test, but the weightage is 60%. And here also, midterm, you can give it as an 80 mark test, but the weightage of that is going to be 20%. So right now in the board exam, what is happening is all the periodic tests, including midterm, is converted into 5. There is no adequate weightage given to the midterm exam. But as per this pattern of class 9, it is not that 80-20, 80 of the finals. Okay, here it is only 60% of the finals, 20% of the midterm, and 20% is the internal assessments. Then they have given bifurcation of the skill courses, subject involving practicals like music, then home science and painting and so on. So you can take a screenshot of this and refer to the guidelines or the notification for further details. The main subjects will remain, however, in the 80-20 pattern as the class 10. Then moving ahead, we see the passing criteria. Now, this is very, very important. 33% is the passing mark. So every student, irrespective of whatever is the challenge faced by the student or whatever is the conditions that is given by the parent in terms of absence or shortage of attendance, whatever is the problem, 33% is mandatory. 33% is mandatory in every subject. And what is the catch right now is that it is 33% internal plus external. But one important point that they have added is that subject to a minimum of 25% should be scored in the annual exam out of 60. So 25% is mandatory. So earlier, let's say a student, you were giving 20 out of 20 in internals. The student required only 13 marks to pass because 20 and 13 is 33, like it's happening in the present boards. But from 2023 onwards, that rule is going to change in class 9. It states that 33% is there. Overall, 33% has to be scored. But the promotion criteria is very clearly said that promotion is subject to a condition that a minimum of 25% of the marks should be scored in the annual exam, right? So this is a catch here. 25% has to be scored minimum. If the child is not scoring 25%, then the child has to appear for a compartment exam. Now, they have also given some provision for the grace marks. So suppose a student is not getting 33, then you can give grace marks up to 10 marks, not 10 in one subject. You can give a maximum of 5 in one subject. So you can give 5 in two subjects to reach 33%. But also they have made it very clear that provided a minimum of 25% is scored in each subject at the annual exam. So if the child is not getting 25% in the annual examination, you cannot give any grace marks. The grace marks is only to reach 33. So if the child is getting poor marks in the internal assessments, you can give some grace marks. But you cannot give grace marks to reach 25% in the final examination. Final examination has to be cleared by the student on his or her ability, not with grace marks. Grace marks can only be given as part of internal assessment and made 33. But 25% is mandatory, right? So this is very important, and you cannot give more than 10 marks grace, and that also you can give grace marks only 5 in one subject, not more than 5 in one subject. So I hope the grace marks part is clear. Now moving on further, what happens in the compartment exam? So as I told you, if a student is not getting 33% in maximum 2 subjects, you cannot give a compartment in 3 subjects, 4 subjects, or 5 subjects. Only 2, and this 2 is for class 9. For class 11, it is only 1. Remember that. So I'll be coming to the class 11 part after I finish off this class 9. So not more than 2 failing subjects. So maximum 2, the student is not getting 33. The student is eligible to give a compartment exam, which will be held as per the convenience of the school. Here they have given in the 3rd week of April, right? And it will be conducted in the same pattern, that is 80 marks and 3 hours. It's not that it's a reduced test or a subsidized test or an easier test. It should be of the same level as the annual exam pattern. Okay, so that is important, that the compartment exam should be in the same pattern. And the internal assessment marks is going to get carried as it is in the compartment exam. And if the student is absent in 1 or 2 subjects, then the array compartment can be given. But if the student is absent in more than 2 subjects, whatever be the reasons, the child is not eligible for compartment, because the board rule, the Department of Education is very clear that compartment can be given only in 1 or 2 subjects as far as class 9 is concerned. If you look at this point D, if a student fails or is absent in 3 or more than 3 subjects and medical leave in 1 or more subjects, he shall not be eligible to appear in the compartment, which means he has to repeat the class. And the benefit of the 3rd language will be given to the student only for promotion to the next class, not for placing in compartment. Okay, this is these are the rules that has to be understood very, very carefully. So maximum compartment is only in 1 or 2. Now comes a very important criteria for the passing. That is, in order to get passing, he has to get 33% and in each subject. So he is giving compartment in 1 subject or 2 subjects. So he has to get 33%, provided that a minimum of 33 out of 100 must be secured in the total, right? In the total, that is compartment exam plus whatever he has got in the internal, he should get 33. So he's getting, suppose he's got 15 marks in the internal assessment, he has to get 18 marks in the compartment so that it becomes 33 and he passes, right? So this is important as far as passing criteria is concerned in the compartment, and there will be no provision to give any grace marks in the compartment. So we cannot give grace marks here. So it's very clearly written here, no benefit of grace marks will be given to the student appearing in the compartment exam. Like in the earlier exam, we could give 5, but here we cannot give any grace marks because the internal assessment marks are added as it is, and the student has to get 33% in the overall internal and the test that is taken in the compartment. So these are the new rules. Now, when we come to class 11, the pattern is not 80-20 here. So most of the exams which is having theory and practical is now 70 and 30. 70 marks is the theory and 20 marks is the practical. Of course, there are other subjects with 60, 40, 50, 50 combinations. So this is the list. So the subjective questions and objective questions will be there. There will be internal choice of about 33%. And the objective, that is MCQ, will be about 25% in the midterm and in the annual exam, and 75% is going to be subjective. Okay, so in class 9 and 10, we had a different ratio of objective subjective. Here we are having 25% and 75%, right? So this is the internal choice remains the same, 33%. So please follow class 12 pattern when you are preparing the question paper of class 11, right? You're going to prepare as per the class 12 pattern, and different subjects have different theory and practical. So that also please make a note of that. So moving on, the promotion rules for class 11 is little different from class, not little, totally different from class 9 and 10. Here, when I talk about 33%, it is not internal plus external. The student has to pass separately in the theory as well as the practical. Theory and practical has to be 33% separately, not by adding, right? So otherwise the student will not be passed. And grace marks again can be given up to 10 marks, and again not more than 5 marks in one subject, so that it becomes 33%. So if the student is passing by if suppose you give 2-3 marks and he is passing, then you can give that 2-3 marks, but not more than 5 in any subject. And also another change from class 9, if you compare the class 9 promotion rules, is that compartment can be given only in one subject. Okay, compartment can be given only in one subject, not in 2 subjects for class 11. In class 9, we saw that compartment is possible in 2 subjects. But in class 11, we can give compartment only in one subject. So the compartment will be in one failing subject. That's it. So if it is more than one, then we cannot give a compartment to that child and the student is detained. So if the student is absent, again, if the student is absent in more than one subject, then also the problem comes, compartment cannot be given. So we are authorized to give compartment to class 11 students in only one subject. So if the student remains absent in 2 or more, then the child is not eligible for the compartment. And passing criteria for compartment, again, 33% has to be there. Now, if the child was failing in the practicals or the theory, 33% has to be there in both separately. So the promotion is also subject to that condition, that separate 33% is objected in the practical work and 33% in the theory. If the student is not getting 33% in the compartment exam that has been taken either in the practical or in the theory, then the student will not be promoted to the next class, right? A student will not be eligible to pass and will be detained for the session if the compartment exam the student has not got 33%. Now, if the student is not from your school at midterm, you have admitted some from some other school, maybe the student has joined late and so on. So the marks of that can be carried forward for assessment purposes. The periodic test or whatever would be adjusted from the previous records of that school. What is important at this point of time is that if there is any fractional marks, please round it off to the next higher decimal. So if you are rounding off 8.5, 8.6, anything 0.5 and above, you round it off to the next higher decimal, that is 9. And if it is below 8.5, round it off to the lower. So if you are absent without medical certificate, then it is going to be very difficult to give a compartment exam. So it is very clearly mentioned that if there is a medical issue for class 9 student, you can give up to 2. And if it is class 11, you can give only 1. Okay. And this medical certificate has to be given within 3 days. If the child is participating in any sporting event, there are many students who go and play at the national level and state level. There is an exemption here, and re-exam for these students can also be conducted along with the compartment. Again, the problem is that you can give only 2 maximum subjects as compartment for these type of students who are participating in sports, and only 1 re-exam can be given at the class level. So there is no dilution of rules for them as far as the number of subjects is concerned, right? So this is important, that whether it is a medical case or whether it is a sports category, the re-exam has to be given. There is no automatic promotion. And in the re-exam, the student has to get 33% marks. So rules of the compartment will remain same for the students in the medical category and the sports category. So thank you so much. This document explains a lot about the promotion policy of class 9 and 11. And in the coming years, with the implementation of the national education policy at all levels, we are in a state of drastic change, and we have to adapt to these changes fast. So I'm sure it's going to be good for the future of our students, for the future of our country. So wishing you all the best. Keep updating yourself with the CBSE protocols and the CBSE notices so that we can give our best to our students, and let's bring in more creativity and make learning a joyful experience. So thank you so much, and best wishes to everybody.